Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you're having a fantastic day. We're taking a quick look here at Ethereum, seeing what's going on. Its coin's just eating crow all day long. Super significant sell-offs, even stronger than the majority of other altcoins, just totally laying down. So we're going to look at some back-end data first. In other words, we're going to look at CME gaps here, or futures rather, to kind of get perspective on where we're at. We have tons of CME gaps above the price action. So that doesn't really matter. It's not super relevant, 2,500 and then roughly the $3,000 mark. But what we want to note here is, depending on how we close here today, that could factor in. So right now, the price action for Ethereum is 1816 and futures close at about 1860. So just note there is a CME gap starting to form at this level here, and we'll have to keep an eye on that, see what's going on. So hypothetically, this weekend we open up. At that point, depending on the CME gap, it could come up to refill. In other words, simple way to understand it is that we're more likely to see this area retested soon because there's a point of control as a resistance as well. So a lot of times that works like a magnet. So if the price action opens up in this range, we could very well see a slow crawl back up to the current resistance of roughly 1900 based on that point of control there on CME futures. So let's take a look at some backend data, kind of see what's going on, and we'll take it from there. And if you saw my analysis from yesterday, or sorry, that was 2 days ago, I missed my analysis yesterday. The anticipation was for the price action to come lower. I had an alert set at roughly 2050 to consider a short. Price never even came close to that. So just continued straight down from there. It's just how it works sometimes, folks. You're going to miss a lot of opportunities, but honestly, it's okay to miss some opportunities and to try to take a bad one, right? So that's kind of the concept. Don't forget to like the videos, folks. If you could, please help grow the channel. Let's go ahead and take a look here at the local liquidation. We can see, oh my goodness, billions of dollars got swept here. Somewhere probably in the range of 10 to 15 billion between 1800 and 1830. So it was a significant event there. Now that that's been swept, there's nothing really here locally in the last 7 days. So, it doesn't mean there's nothing still left in the macro perspective. You take a look at this here. We take a look at about 1700. That is a significant amount of liquidation. Each one of these bars is about $7 to $8 billion. That is a lot. So 1750 to 1700 would be the next area of retracement. I would maybe consider a spot order on my spot bag in the low 1700 range, just based on that massive liquidation event. Having said that, though, we're at 14 billion liquidation delta. This is probably the highest I've ever seen it. This is quite significant for this coin, basically implying you don't want to take a long position, but also implying we've been overextended for too long, and the likelihood of the price action recovering to destroy these late shorts is kind of high as well. So I wouldn't be surprised we see some shenanigans here soon, just kind of destroying the late shorts, because that's how market makers work. They get everyone scared and FOMO'd in, and then everyone's like, hey, I'm not going to trade, or I'm out of money, and they just buy all the dips and completely melt faces. So it's unfortunate, but it's just kind of the way that the market works. If you don't like it, you probably shouldn't trade crypto. It does kind of suck, but it's just kind of, it's the way it goes. Okay. So anyways, I'll have to clean up the charts on my Twitter, Telegram, and Discord. I'll post a playout chart here soon. It's all going to be there for you. But just note that at this point, the price action is pulling back as expected. And what we want to look at is some key level supports and or resistances. And usually I like to base my supports and resistances off of larger time frames. It makes a little bit more sense there. And I think somebody asked me if 1750 or somewhere in those lines is a support level. Yeah, 1750. So let's see if we can take a look at that too. But the obvious indicator here, we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, roughly 5 to 6 days. And then of course, a 7th here recently, 1865 is that tentative support level if we close below that. It seems pretty likely that we will, so it may become the new resistance, right? So the price comes up here, rejects, comes back down to sweep that lower area of liquidation. It's probably what we're going to see. A lot of this is based on Bitcoin underperforming, though. If Bitcoin does recover, I think Ethereum could have a good chance of just kind of maintaining itself. But the truth is, we're under all moving averages, under 50 on the RSI, MACD soon to diverge. There's not a single thing on the daily time frame or the 4-hour time frame or the hourly, let's just save you some time, that's going to tell us that we see some hidden bullish divergence. If you're seeing and watching anyone else who's telling you to buy this dip, they are full of what, all right? It's just not a good recommendation at all to consider buying. But on the same accord, it does make sense too from like a spot bag perspective to maybe consider dollar cost average on the way down, because 1800 has notoriously been a nice support range, and now that this liquidation has been fully swept, there's a solid chance that we see the price recover a little bit. I'm speculating if we kind of bottom out here in the low $1,800 range, we'll see a relief rally to the $1,900 range to fill this CME gap future on CME futures about 1865, and then pull back down once we hit our point of control at roughly 1900. Those are my speculative thoughts right now at this point. But there's no reason to go much further here, honestly. There's nothing else we can really see here that's super definitive that's telling us we're going to see a reversal. Bitcoin literally has to pull its head from its ass first, and then Ethereum may consider doing so itself in a few days. It's just such a sluggish and stupid coin right now. Granted, we took some nice longs on it before. We had some nice profits in the 2,000 to 20.8 range, but at this point, I wouldn't recommend a trade. So the simple way to understand it is we got tentative resistance at about 1865. That's right where that CME gap is topped out. Better case scenario, the price comes up to 1900 and rejects off its point of control. Okay, those are kind of two scenarios. So it either looks like this or it looks like this. So not great no matter how you slice it. I'll post a playout chart on our Twitter, Telegram, and Discord. I guess to answer the question I got in my Discord, it was 1750 as support. Not really. I don't really see it. Granted, there's, we could zoom out and probably look at our macro structure here and see there may be some points of control in that range. We can see, 1900, about 2000 as previous resistances. We do have a point of control at about 1820 from the macro. So we're in our support range. That's the simple way to understand it. But are we instantly going to recover? Probably not. Okay. So I don't really see a ton of support outside of that point of control. I would say that it seems likely for the price to continue lower with a retest of that 1850 to 1900 range. Cool. All right. Sorry, I probably talked too long on this one. It's a longer video than usual. Sorry about that. Hope you learned something. Thanks again so much for your watching. And please always hit the like button, comment below if you get a chance. Let me know where you're at with Ethereum. What do you think? Is this coin a hot piece of trash, or is it fire or something that you really, really love trading? Let me know. We'll see you in the next one. Have a good rest of your day. Take care.